Velkommen tilbage til Formula TV. I sidste afsnit startede vi vores rundtur på Pagani-fabrikken, hvor vi som noget helt specielt har fået adgang til den del af fabrikken, der normalt er gemt væk for offentligheden. Sidste gang kiggede vi på selve produktionen af kulfiber og ikke mindst de ovne, det bliver bagt i. Og i dette afsnit skal vi kigge nærmere på det færdige kulfiberprodukt, og ikke mindst den 12-cylindrede AMG-motor, der ligger i midten. Til at vise os rundt har vi endnu en gang italienske Francesco Perini, som er en ledende medarbejder i produktionen af Pagani. Man kan sige, at det er Horatios højre hånd. Og inden vi giver ordet videre til ham, så vil jeg blot bede dig om at abonnere på Formula TV og give videoen et like, når nu du er i gang. Tak og god fornøjelse.
Okay, so this is like the quality check of the parts when they come out? Yes? Yeah?
So once it's extracted from the mold, the part is analyzed in order to make sure that all the details, all the fibers, all the aesthetic aspect of the car, of the part, they are fully matched. So with the requirements. So the thing is to make sure that we don't accept parts that then will go into potentially a production car. So we need to make sure that the parts are 100% compliant with our standards.
Okay. But a part like this still needs to get some parts cut out and everything?
Yes.
So it's not fully finished yet?
Exactly.
No. But like you're looking at the weave and things? Yeah.
You look at the weaves, you look at the curing process. So we look at the data of the autoclave to make sure that everything was okay. And if the part is cured properly, then we move it into the area where all the cut and the cutout on drills, holes and everything are done. Obviously in a protected environment, because the carbon fiber, when it's drilled, can bring dust. Dust that's not good for your health, for your lungs. So this is
that's why they're wearing jackets. Can we just look inside? What is he doing here, Francesco?
He's preparing he's working on smaller parts and but also bodywork parts as well.
And he's using heat?
He's also using it to cure certain parts or make sure that he's now looking at the already painted part. So it's slightly different. Let me show you the actual trimming. So it's a very manual work which requires good eyes and also very good hands to make sure that what we feel necessary to preserve the quality, it happens on the real part. So that's the important thing.
What are you trying to do here? You have assembled the car, but without any technical parts.
You see, this is a body in white. It's normally called in the automotive industry. So you have the chassis and you have the main structure and the main parts of the car. No mechanics or electronics. So we put the car together to make sure that each single body panel is perfectly matching with the other one. Just next to it. So we put the things. So actually you put the car together before the car needs to be put together, just to check that that it fits. When it's raw, not painted, so each part is produced specifically for the car. So when it comes here, we put all together and we make sure that each single distance between two parts, each single fiber alignment and each single functionality of opening on the bonnets and the doors, it's 100% compatible with our standards. We take it apart, everything, and we bring it into this room in order to prepare it for the painting process.
But what if I don't want my Pagani to be painted? What if I wanted to stand out in raw carbon fiber? What is the process with that?
Some customers, they do want to see the carbon fiber. So this is why we do the process of transparent painting, both in matte and glass, depending on the grade that the customer is expecting.
So you actually still paint the car, but with a clear paint? With
a clear paint. That's very important because the protection of the carbon fibers is also important for environment. Yes, for the degradation.
So you can't have raw carbon fiber. You need to prepare it in some way?
You can have it raw, but in our standards we still need to polish or make it nice, look nice, because as you can see, this is a part coming from the mold. It needs to be still treated. So this is why we want the surface perfectly smooth and perfectly homogeneous in terms of also brightness.
But isn't it a shame sometimes to paint over all of this beautiful carbon fiber?
Yeah, that's why some customers also, I would say, most of them now, they want to see the carbon fiber. So this is why we're doing
a clear paint.
The clear paint.
So the chassis is ready for
assembly.
Ready for assembly. And can you talk us through why is this part glossy and this is matte? And
that's a specific customer configuration. But as you can see, this is a clear painted carbon fiber. Actually carbon titanium on this side of the car, because that's a structural member of the chassis.
It's so beautiful. And just
and that's why we have a different materials. You can see each area of the chassis has a different composition depending on the function.
But is this part visible of the car when it's finished, or is it hidden away?
No, it's mostly covered. Because there are covers here, the seat, the carbon fiber mat. So the only visible part will stay
is this one.
This side, and part of the tunnel, obviously, and the roll cage. But all these parts are not really visible. But we still want to make sure that at each level inside, even if it's not visible, it must be perfect.
Okay, it's very, very beautiful.
We are in front of a Roadster BC chassis, and one of our challenges when designing and engineering a chassis like that was to reach a level of mechanical performance higher compared to a cube. So in 2017, when we worked on the Roadster, we wanted to achieve the first Roadster car lighter compared to a cube. Normally it's the other way around. You have the roof on the cube, which gives rigidity to the chassis because the structure is fully closed. Once you remove the top, you change completely the way it behaves. So this is why typically a Roadster model, it's heavier compared to a cube. But with the Roadster, with the Huayra Roadster, we wanted to reach the level of having the first Roadster in the world lighter compared to the cube, using the technology we know and the materials, developing specific materials to reach this kind of expectation.
You haven't created that many models here at Pagani. You have the Sonda and the Huayra, but you have a lot of variants of the Huayra. How long time does it take to create like a variant of a Huayra?
Typically 2-3 years, depending on the level of changes in the new model. But we always start with the idea of preserving certain parts and from the previous model to make the process more efficient. But we eventually end up doing all new things. Like if I compare the Huayra Roadster with the Huayra Cube, there are no body panels in common at all. The chassis is completely bespoke, as well as the engine and the gearbox. So eventually we came up with a complete new car.
So the engine is one of the single parts that you don't make yourself on the car?
Exactly. We have a strong partnership with Mercedes AMG, born since the 90s, thanks to Mr. Pagani and Mr. Manuel Fangio, the Formula 1 driver, who was connected with Mercedes management, and he could understand the potential of Mr. Pagani's idea. So this is why he gave connection with Mercedes, and eventually in the 90s with the Zonda C12 there was the first strong collaboration that year by year became new engines for the new models. In 2019 with the Roadster BC we achieved the bespoke engine, so the Pagani bespoke engine called Pagani V12. So as you can see it in the engine bay, it's a completely Pagani logo with still the signature of obviously AMG, but this is a sign of respect between the two companies. So we don't design the engine ourselves, they are experts on this, but we provide our expertise in terms of vehicle integration and vehicle dynamics to make sure that the engine performs well in the car. And we also design the aesthetic part of the engine. As you can see, this beautiful manifold here, it's hydroform for 1.5 millimeter thickness, and we design all the aesthetic parts of the engine. And the integration in vehicle bring us to also have joint tests with AMG to work together on the car to complete the performance and the data set of the engine, as well as for the emission levels that are required to certify the cars worldwide.
Because a lot of all car manufacturers today are hurt by emissions or need to worry about the future and electric cars and hybrid cars. What do you think about the future for Pagani? Will there ever be an electric Pagani, or is that out of the question?
We definitely love the V12. And obviously we need to stick with the regulations. So we are also working on alternatives for the future to make sure that the company and the customer and everyone in the organization is prepared for the next generation in case we need to change some details of the architecture of the V12. We started to look into the electric world as well since a couple of years now. So we are doing our steps to make sure that we will be ready in case the regulation couldn't give us the possibility to use in 10 years time obviously a V12 architecture.
So now you have the Huayra BC Roadster as a model. Can you tell us a little about what's in the future for Pagani models?
Yes, with the current production we're going to end the Huayra Roadster BC in a few months time, and after that we will start the production of the Huayra R, which is the truck version, truck version of the Huayra, currently in a development phase, in the one of the last stages of the development phases. And after that there will be a new Pagani model. It's called the C10.
Okay, so that's the code name, C10.
Yes, that's the project code name. We're working on that since 2017, so it's all more than 4 years now. And that will be the next generation of Pagani.
So can you tell us still a V12?
We cannot say details about that.
Say? Maybe manual stick shift? You cannot say?
But definitely we love the V12. So
you love the V12,
and there are no limits that we are facing in terms of emission that could stop this kind of architecture so far. But the beautiful thing is that due to the strong partnership with Mercedes-AMG, they are producing the V12 and this specific architecture just for us.
I can see, Francesco, that there is a very special exhaust in this car. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
The exhaust system has a very unique aesthetic feature, I would say, which is the iconic 4 exhaust in the middle, coming from the early design of the Zonda. So a signature of the brand, a signature of Pagani. But with the current technology, we switched to a fully titanium exhaust. So as you can see, the entire system, how big it is, it weighs 7 kilograms only.
Only 7 kilograms?
Yes.
For the whole exhaust system?
For the whole exhaust, up to the catalyzer.
Okay. And how thin is this titanium? Or thick?
We are in order of 1.2 millimeters.
Okay.
But this architecture has a specific feature also. As you can see, apart from the 4 iconic exhausts, you have 2 additional exhaust pipes.
And how do they work?
They are normally working with this valve, and the valve is closed. But depending on the rev level of the engine and the power request, the valves is open in order to control the gases, reduce the back pressure on the engine, and help the diffuser to reduce the drag and create downforce. So it's a blown diffuser effect because this exit is exactly at the edge of the diffuser.
Okay.
But also it can be controlled manually by the pilot using a button in the cockpit just to give an extra noise when it's needed.
And I can see there's a sign from the company Arrow.
Arrow, yes.
Yeah. So they make that exhaust for you, or how is it? Okay, it's very beautiful.
We design it, we put all the details we want, with all the interfaces and everything, and then they create the tooling, and then they create the parts for us.
Okay. And does it get the blue exhaust tips? Is that from the heat, or how?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a heating process.
Okay.
Yes.
It looks very, very interesting. So, Francesco, can you just talk about what is these guys? These are non-drivable prototypes. Yeah.
Those are actually scaled models.
Okay. So mock-ups. Yeah.
They are created to manage the expectation, understand from a stylistic point of view and some detail of the car in an early stage of the process before creating a real prototype.
Yeah. So what is the philosophy behind the design of the Huayra? Can you tell us a little about that?
It's a very unique process, I would say. Normally you have different stages in the design of the car, but since we have a small group of people and we are trying to, create whatever Mr. Pagani has in his mind, the vision for the company, the vision on the car, we have this unique approach where the designer and the engineers, where they work actually together, and we have the approach of creating the single parts where the designer also have the technical aspect of the parts. So we put all the things together to make sure that they embrace the whole vision of the process. This aspect is inspired by the teaching of Leonardo da Vinci.
So there's a bell tower also.
Yeah, that's the bell tower. It's
okay.
1 o'clock.
What is the most important for Pagani? Is that performance or is it design? If you should choose.
We don't choose that. That's the point. The whole point is to make sure that we put all the things together to create a unique essence, where obviously the important thing is to meet or exceed the expectation of the customer. We try to make their dream real. So that's the whole point. Leonardo da Vinci taught us that art and science could work together, they could work hand by hand. And that's part of what we believe, and this is why we focus on something in an engine bay, and we don't see just a functional part, but we see something that needs to be beautiful as well. It needs to be fully integrated into the symphony of the engine bay, singing together with the other parts. If you put something in the engine bay which is not beautiful as the other parts, you will ruin it. So that's why we keep this level of attention to each detail of the car, even the screws.
Francesco, I will just say thank you very much for showing us around the factory and making all our viewers and me very much wiser about the Pagani brand. I hope we can come back another day and get a new tour with the C10, which maybe will be a V12, we don't know. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you too.
Så nu gælder det bare om at vente på, at næste generation af Pagani bliver præsenteret, og så tør vi godt love, at Formula TV igen er på pletten i Italien. Det er så fedt, at du har haft lyst til at nørde igennem med os, og ikke mindst se, hvordan en Pagani bliver produceret helt fra bunden. Tak fordi du kiggede med. Husk at abonnere på kanalen. Vi ses.